Namaste all. In this Facebook talk today, we are very much delighted to have a guest here. He is Prof Jinan.K.B. He is here to talk to us different things, what all we do in teaching and learning. We have been listening so many things from Shivaram sir and Bhaiya, especially about the pre-primary children, how they learn and how they gain the knowledge. Here, Mr. Jinan has done a lot of research on how children learn. So we have been listening about John Holt, how children learn, how children play and all. Now, the practicality he is going to talk to us how really children create knowledge first hand. So it's a paradigm shift. Like he has been, we have attended one of his workshops along with some parents and teachers, and he quoted a thing like the schools are the big obstacles for learning. It's a big statement at that time for us. So what actually children are learning in the schools is not at all learning, and how we create learning environments in the school and at home. So basically we have schools, we can't close the schools, but what I humbly request Professor Jinan to see what are all the interventions we can bring, the lesser and the lesser damage we can make. We should not make damage at all, but what actually can we do, and how a teacher and a parent understand what learning is and how does the child learn very naturally, and how we can be away from their, without disturbing them, without we become obstacles. How can we be the observers than the teachers? So, without wasting much time, Dr. Jinan will be holding the session. Thank you, sir. You have to use this also.
Yeah. Okay, how and what to learn. Okay? Yeah. Okay, no? Yeah. So, all these are teachers here, no? Pre-primary. Okay. Mainly teachers, no? So I will, talk to them in a with respect to what they are doing actually, and how what changes we can bring, little bit. Yeah. So English is okay, no? English, it's okay. Yeah. So I never liked going to school. What about you? Be honest. Don't worry. She is not going to look at you. Be very honest. Did you like going to school? I have not met many people who like to go to school. You have to push them, pull them, beat them up, give them mithai, something you have to do. Right. That's number one. And I have hardly ever met anybody who is really interested in learning what schools teach you. Second thing, clear, no? Somehow we pass exam, we get mark, and we take up a job, that's all. Then whatever you have learned is forgotten. Correct? One friend was telling the difference between a good student and a bad student. Bad student forgets before the exam, good student forget after the exam. That's all. So we are actually making joke about whole school, you know. I think it is mainly developed for giving employment for adults. Earlier it was when children were 7 years, they were going to school. So they produced many people who didn't have job. They slowly started reducing the age from 7, now it is 3, So basically it is employment generation activity. And in the process, we destroy an original being. Has any one of you copied and passed exam? I have copied and passed, so let me just tell you. Have you copied and passed? Once in a while? So, another thing that I want to say is this, that what do we do in school? They tell you certain things, you memorize, memory, and you reproduce that and they will give you mark. Am I right? This is anything to do with intelligence? They are only testing your memory. This has nothing to do with intelligence. So to me, someone who copies and passes, he is at least applying intelligence. Understood? So the system now is that neither teacher is interested nor the student is interested. That's a fact. Somehow you spend 9 to 5, no? What's the timing? 8:30 to 4:30. Somehow you drag yourself here, wait till the evening, bell, gone, forgotten completely. Correct, no? More or less. Do you think the people in the village are also like that? That they somehow drag their daytime, in the evening they do some entertainment and go to sleep? Is that? Or they enjoyed what they did?
If it is hard work, they may not enjoy.
Not really. No. They are far more responsible. It is our educated mind who misinterprets, all this idea about hard work. Now, of course, it has made hard work because this is what we tell them. You understand? Because throughout centuries, millions of years, people have done hard work and lived. It is only now suddenly it has become hard. You look at this, that when you were brought up by your parents, was it hard work? I don't think so. Parents never felt it as a hard work looking after children. But today it has become hard work. Correct? Isn't it? So everything in life has been like that. People have been farming with no complaint. They were doing. Every activity people, Mangalgiri is one of the best known places for weaving. Am I right? They never complained. Weaving is hard, So there was a proper social system that supported meaningful work. So I actually began to study rural tribal people. So my learning is from them. Because first I felt that I was not at all enjoying my education. I have done engineering, but of course I copied a lot of things and I passed, I have a degree. There was no, a truthful exploration of what I was learning. They tell you something in the book, you read and then you forget it. That's what it is, no? So I thought instead of memorizing and storing it here, why not I copy and pass? Less damage to the brain. That is why I got very much interested in understanding what is education, what is learning. Why people don't enjoy learning? Correct? No child enjoys coming here. They enjoy playing. You know, when are they very happy? When the bell rings for going out. Correct? Why is it so? Why are they not happy coming inside? Same thing with us also. So, I ran a school in 2011 to 2013. I ran it in such a way that children did not feel like going back. And we were very, very excited to be with them. But we changed the complete rules. Complete rules. We focus more on the intelligence of the child, not on their memory power. Understand? There's a difference, no? Intelligence. Correct? And what do we do in schools? You know, you actually create a certain kind of competition between children. Am I right? Is it natural for children to be competitive? No. They like to play with each other. So we are continuously going against the nature of the child. That the child is very happy all the time. Am I right? Very happy. And they are always exploring things. Correct, no? So while I was living with rural tribal people, illiterate people, I understood one very important thing. That we literates learn the word. W-O-R-D. Illiterates learn the world. You getting the difference? Understand? They are learning the real world. We are reading. We are reading. We are reading and thinking we have learned. Yeah? But somebody will have to certify that you are a learned man. You see? We have to have a proof. Yes, I am a learned man. You see? A villager doesn't need your certificate. He will do things. You know, he doesn't need a certificate. Understand? No? That is why I got very much interested in understanding what is a child. One very important thing is that in rural tribal areas, children are, even people there are psychologically far more healthier, far more healthier than the educated people. Would you agree with this? There are two very important reasons for this. Number one, a child is trusted by parents. They will never, they will never say, don't do this, don't do that. Correct? A child will never ask permission. He will do what he wants to do. It is never denied. Am I right? And this is the most psychologically healthy, existence. When you don't have to say no, and the child doesn't have to ask permission. You understand? They are extremely happy that time. They are not rascals, no? You see, you compare the educated and the uneducated. Who do you think is more cheat? Is there any doubt? It is the educated, no? Illiterate people go to any illiterate home, they are not that, what you call that, anti-social. They are far more helping. And all of you have that experience, no? So that is why I began to study children very, very deeply. What happens to children in urban areas and what happens to children in rural areas. So I understood something very, very fundamental about how a child learns and develops. The thing is this, that unlike animals, human child is very vulnerable. When we are born with potentials, and that potential needs to be awakened. If any time you have any something to be explained, please stop me and I will explain this. And I will show you some videos and images to tell what I am talking about. So the thing is that unlike animals, human beings are born as potential, and that potential needs to be awakened. Understand? So there are two ways in this happen. Either you can awaken what they already have, or you can condition them. These are two different things. Understand? One is awakening what is inherent, other one is conditioning them. These two are two different things. Awakening is what you have. Understand? And conditioning is going against it. Right? So even our ability to walk needs to be awakened. There is no guarantee that a human child will walk just like that without any awakening. For example, when a child is born, if the child is in a dark room in the next few days, their eyes won't function. If the child doesn't hear anything for few months, ears won't function. So even our walking has to be awakened. I will give you some important examples of that, then you will get to know that this is an example of a yes. This is the one. So this you see, this is example of feral children. A feral child is a child looked after by animals. Understand? So this child on this orange t-shirt, she is from Ukraine. Parents were drunk all the time. So the child was with dogs all the time. So she was discovered when she was around 7, 8 year old, 7, 8, 9 year old. And they found that she was walking like a dog and barking like a dog, eating like a dog. You understand? And the other child, this is from India, that black and white picture. This child was looked after by monkeys. So the child's behavior was like monkey-like. You understand? And the other one was with the chickens, hens. So his behavior became like chicken. So his hand was used like a punk, like a wing, and his lips were was moved like a beak. So it was eating like this. Do you understand? So unlike animals, human beings can go either way. You can destroy the human child like anything, which is what schools are doing. That's what the bottom line I'm trying to make. And you can actually awaken the child to its full potential. You understand, huh? You see, it's like this, that can a dog do Telugu barking? No, no. So if a child is born in Bangalore, near the slums, the child will speak 4 languages. Understand? But a dog will not do that. It will be bark only. I'm differentiating between humans and animals. Animals have very little space for, of course they are intelligent. They are intelligent enough to sustain their lives. We have been given far more possibility, but we have it on both sides. We can destroy ourselves or we can awaken ourselves. And I find that in the indigenous illiterate communities, the condition is accurate for awakening, whereas in modernity, it is exactly opposite. You will rarely find a child that is unhappy in a rural tribal area. They are contented. Our nature is not to get angry. Our nature is not to get sad. We don't fight all the time. You see, you must have seen when a child is getting angry, every child, everywhere. Within few, minutes, the child is back to normal. Am I right? If you don't keep troubling them. If you can trouble them, you can prolong it. As child is fallen down. And if you don't take too much care, they will get up and go. Am I right? But if you go and sit with them and do ha ha ho ho, they will continue to cry. Correct? No? Now this is with everything. They will get angry. In few seconds they will forget it and they are back to normal. But modern situation is such that they are not allowed to forget their problem. None of them like to come to school. But every day they are forced. Every day they have to deal with this nonsense. Oh, I have to come here. You see, one thing I want to tell you. Nobody likes to be controlled. Do you think you like to be controlled? Anybody? Tell me. Anyone like to be controlled? What are we doing to our children? Every day control. Every day. And every child is born spiritual. Every child is born spiritual. And we destroy it systematically. Because today the whole problem is that they say that children are selfish, they are not sharing. Am I right? Don't you hear this every time? Modern parents, children don't share. All this is because of the adults. There is no problem at all with the children. All because we teach them these values. That's what we do. Simple thing. You see, in the earlier societies, there was nothing specially bought for a child. Everything belongs to the child. Am I right? You don't say this is mine and this is yours. When you buy a toy, what do you tell? This is yours. Am I right? Was there anything that was bought for a child in a rural area some time ago? Did they ever feel that they don't have anything? Did they ever feel? Never. So what I am trying to say is that this whole modern situation that we are now trapped into is destructive of every aspect of a human being. Not only their psychological aspect, their cognitive aspect, their physical. Physically, look at what is happening to modern people. Are they healthier or the rural tribal people are healthier? You tell me a simple thing. Is your lifestyle healthier than a rural person? Tell me. Who gets knee pain faster? Simple. Correct, no? So, for some reason, human beings have turned against themselves. This is the bottom line. They have turned against themselves, they turned against life. That's the basic thing. Because we have not understood children. That's the main reason. We have not understood two fundamental things about life. One, what is knowledge? How is it created? And how does a child create knowledge? That's the main thing. Do you understand? So my exploration, my research has been, I have been studying children for many, many years. And I've been trying to understand how does a child learn. What do they learn first of all? And why do we need knowledge first of all? Why does a dog need learning? Let's always compare with animals and then see who is more wiser. Why does a dog need knowledge? Do they not need knowledge? First of all, do they need knowledge? Do living beings, other living beings need knowledge? Correct, no? Why do they need? For survival, am I right? They are surviving. But is that the kind of knowledge that human beings are engaged in? Are they? So somewhere, first of all, the whole education system doesn't even understand that there needs to be creation of knowledge. Somebody is telling you this is what you should learn and you are learning it, that's all. No? If you don't learn, they beat you up. That's the simple thing. Out of compulsion, they will learn. You have to learn, all of us. So what I did was that I have been documenting children, videos and photographs of children, what they do, and then slowly trying to understand how do they create knowledge. First of all, my whole confusion was what exactly is knowledge? How do you do that? And then I began to look at each and every aspect, things that we were doing from childhood. You know, simple example. Did anybody teach you your mother tongue? No. Did you try to learn? No. Then how did that happen? Do anyone of you know grammar actually? Hardly anybody knows grammar, yet we are able to speak very well. Am I right? And how many of you actually hated grammar when it was taught to you? You know, be honest, don't be in a, you know, I think 99% of the people hated grammar when it was taught to us. In the third, which year are you doing this now? Third year? Third standard? Fourth or somewhere, no? No teaching of grammar now? Oh, you won't know, huh? Anyway, it doesn't matter, whenever you are, whenever you teach. But it was the worst subject. But the fact is that all of us know grammar. You understand the contradiction? That we all know grammar and the proof is that we are able to speak very well our mother tongue. But when grammar was taught to you, that was the most hated subject. You understand? So I actually began to then look at these things very minutely. What is really happening? So, yeah, this is a very important example. You see, this child, this is in America in 1920s. Both parents were psychologists. They got a chimpanzee to be with their child. In 6 months' time, they had to throw the chimpanzee out because the child was becoming like a chimpanzee. You understand? This is the fragility of the human child. Human beings absorb and imbibe and become. We are born with potentials only. It is the context that awakens us and that enables us to reach our full potential, provided the context is interesting. If the context is not creative, we will not become creative. You get this? And do you know what schooling teaches a child? To be a teacher. You know the difference between a teacher and a learner? A learner is somebody who creates knowledge. Teacher who distributes knowledge. This is a ration shops, you know. All educational institutions are nothing but ration shops. Distributing so-called knowledge. That's all what we do. For some wrong reason, people tell we are gurus. This is all a myth. Just to satisfy our ego, we make up the stories. So I'll go into this whole process called learning. How do we learn? Okay. Now tell me, how many of you know how to cycle? Anyone know how to cycling? Some of you know. Can you tell me who taught you cycling? Somebody? Okay. Chapati making? You all know. Who taught you how to make chapati? Loudly. Okay, now you're, okay. Yeah. What about swimming? No. Some of you know swimming? Okay, so let's look at it slightly differently now. What I am telling is that cycling, you can learn cycling from cycle, from nobody else. Do you agree with this? Do you understand? So the ability to do whatever you want to do has to learn from what you are wanting to learn. There's a very simple rule. If you want to learn to make chapati, it is from atta that you can learn how to knead, not from your mother. Nobody can teach. So I am telling a very simple rule that teaching is impossible. Learning is possible because learning is the nature of life. Learning is not because you want to learn. That's some new nonsense that is happening. Democratic education and all that kind of nonsense. No. Learning is not a choice. Because our eyes don't choose to see. Are you choosing? You cannot choose your senses. All senses are functioning all the time. It is not in your choice. And it is only through senses that you can get understanding of the world. Do you think is there any other way? Absolutely no. Do you understand? You have to have a prior knowledge of the world in order to understand that when you read. Otherwise, reading is a useless activity. Most reading is anyway useless activity because we are making up stories in our head. It's not real. Acha, all of you know where is Delhi? Where is Delhi? You know where is Delhi. You have seen, right? And where is Chennai? You know where is Chennai? Imagine traveling from Chennai to Delhi, right? Imagine that. And you travel from Chennai to, from Delhi to Chennai. You remember? Okay. How many of you are having this idea that when you are going to Delhi, you are going up, and we are coming from Delhi to Chennai, you are coming down? Are you getting that idea? Right? At least some of you? Yeah. Okay. And the other thing is just imagine the earth. You have seen, no? You have seen in picture and all that. Just imagine the earth. Imagine. Tell me the size of the earth that you imagined. What is the size? This one? Ball. Slightly bigger, that's all, no? So I am telling you, this is the two damages of a literate, educated person. Number one, for him Delhi is on top and Chennai is down. And the second thing is that our imagination of the earth, which is so immense, has been reduced to a ball. You understand? You can try this. When you go to a village, ask any villager. He will never conceive it the way that we are conceiving. For us, this is the earth. You understand? So, what I am trying to say is that, what has we become after all this education is the question that I am asking. So, I will show you some videos of small activities that some have been documenting, some I download when I see some interesting thing in the net. So actually when I say senses observation, it is all the senses are alive. That's what I actually mean. Not that the eyes, but eyes are far more important than the other senses. So you can see that the child is constantly observing. Understand? So that learning has to happen by observation and doing. And the next video, please take good look at it, because that is the most important video that I have, where that is the principle of learning. And we will go into it further. Now look at the child in the front. Bless all these people. Change your attitude. Learn from children. So, you understood what the child was doing? He is comparing. Understand? He is finding the difference and similarity. This is the crux of learning. That is the only way senses can understand things. Imagine eating mango for the first time. Right? You tasted it. Second time, you see a slight difference. Third time, another. So it could be another type of mango, it could be another stage. And when you are engaging, all your senses are taking part in that. Right? So you make all the connections. So this taste, this smell, this size, this color. Am I right? Most of you can recognize mangoes, no? Correct? Many things, not just mango, but so how does that happen actually? So when a child is actually engaging with the world, the immediate connection is with the senses. Understand? And in the first 3 years, the child don't understand anything that you say. They only hear sound. So I will, show you some more videos and few, redefinitions. Meaning, from a child's point of view, how we should look at learning. That's what I'm, not from a school's point of view, but from a child's point of view. So learning means creation of knowledge. And learning is a two-way process, because when the child is engaging with something, their senses are becoming more and more sensitive. Understand? Someone who is very, very observant will be able to identify the mango from the leaf itself. Am I right? Correct? From the mango leaf or from the smell of the mango leaf, they would know which mango that is. Am I right? What does it require? More attention. Understand? You are more involved. So you see that it is actually the senses, fine-tuning of senses, that allow you to understand deeper and deeper. And what I am trying to say is that when you do that, it makes changes within you. You become a changed person in that process. You become more attentive. No? Yeah. Creativity basically, again, to me, all children are creative. And creativity basically means responding to the unknown. And that is what child is doing all the time. Every activity a child is doing is not because they are seeing you doing. No? Most activities. Suppose a child wants to climb on chair. Do you show them how to climb? Crawl? You crawl and climb? Child does it? No. So how does that? So the child is inventing all the time. Actually, in the context of pre-primary and primary, this is all new terminologies, because it is when they reach about 6th standard, 7th standard, you always hear a complaint that children are not curious. There is a regular complaint about curiosity. Am I right? No? Not curious. No. But the issue is that children are born curious, and as they come to school, we slowly destroy it. Because we don't respond to their curiosity. We push things that we think they need to learn. And curiosity is actually, again, something that is embedded in nature. That you watch a cat. है ना बेटा थोड़ा yes yeah just keep it here yeah And there is a constant complaint amongst parents that children are always asking questions, especially at home. I'm not telling school children don't ask any questions, but at home they keep asking you all kinds of things. That is actually typical of modern problem, because knowledge is not linguistic. Have you seen how children sit on a sofa and bounce? When children sit on a sofa, they bounce. Am I right? Do you think there is a question involved in that? What does question means? Curiosity. Am I right? You want to know something. Do you have to ask it, or you can also respond without asking? You can respond, no? So almost if you look at all activities that children do, it's actually a question and an answer coming together. That children bouncing on a sofa, is that only? It's a response to a certain curiosity that the child has. Play. Because these days this is getting too much unwanted attention. Anything that the West pays attention are dangerous, because they will manipulate it and they will completely change the very, very functioning of it. Play actually, because every child is playful. Play is not important, playfulness is important. So child turns every activity into play. Do you agree with this? Have you seen how they eat at home? Isn't that a game? Isn't that a play? Every activity is turned into play. That is what children do. Now take a look at this fantastic example. This child took a bite of a coconut piece, one bite. Immediately he remembered the Nandi bull, the horn. He found a similarity there. He told it's like this. And then suddenly he remembered the half moon. You see, this is playfulness. People mistake play as physical play. They forget it is actually here, playfulness. This is the primary thing, that you are playful. So this is what I have also been documenting, how children use various kinds of materials. And there's a very clear principle in why they use certain material for certain things. And actually this is the principle of how they make toys. Children do not want toys at all. Modern toys are destructive to children. Because for children, every activity is a potential play. Every activity is turned into play. And every object is a potential toy. Am I right? This can become something for them, no? It will become a tortoise, it can become a car, it can become a rocket, anything it can become. Am I right? That is what child does. So, of course there is physical play for children, not what you introduce, but there is a spontaneous play that they do. And that play is nothing but reenacting their experiences. They go through an experience, come back and reenact that experience. They go and see a marriage, come back and then, reenact getting married. Every activity, anything that they experience, they come back and reenact. They come back from school and play teacher games. Am I right? So, toy in that sense is any object that is used as props. Understand? I told her this can be a rocket, this can be anything. So for her, this was her child, it was a bus, she was sitting on that. Now this is playfulness, this is flexibility. The child is able to think like this. So when you actually give a toy car, you are killing that possibility. And you are turning that into a fragmented play. We think there is something called play, separate from learning. No. There is only learning. Learning means making sense of the world, trying to understand what the world is all about. That is why they are playing. And in that play, they use various materials. So ready-made toys, all of you must have having now at home. Because it completely distracts the attention to the world. Do you understand? A child is observing everything that is happening. And they are trying to understand how does these things behave. And they come and recreate it. And you are killing that recreation because you are substituting with a toy. Understand? I am sure you must have, I hope it will stand like this. Can you give me a glass? Steel glass which is slightly strong. No, only one person. Everybody don't. You stay. Thank you. That's better. Yeah. Yeah, glass is not enough. Slightly more down if you. Yeah. Can you put it down a little bit more? No. Okay. Yeah. This is okay? Yeah, and this is okay. So, I want to check with you, when in childhood, when you got the notebook, did you keep the book like this? You remember keeping the book like this? All of you? You kept the book like this. And you must have played many things with this, not just this. I am giving you one example. Do you see that everybody has done it? You understand? Why is everybody doing it? You did not learn from her, no? Nobody learned from each other, but everybody is doing this activity. That when you got a notebook, 99% of the people have kept the book like this and told this is a house. Am I right? Do you understand? I am trying to tell you there is a logic behind every activity a child does spontaneously. If all of you have done spontaneously, not because you have seen somebody doing it, am I right? Do you understand? So you are trying to connect between how something looks like something. What the child was trying to do, exactly what you are trying to do now. But here you are recreating a form, that this is like the house that you saw. Understand? So this is the process of creating knowledge. That you keep on building things, revisiting experiences, recreating that. That is the way you create your understanding of the world. So it is not just the physical world, but also the social world. Because the child go and sees a marriage, come back and do marriage. Every activity. Somebody is dead, somebody died, after come back, of course there will be a death ceremony there. Am I right? Yeah. And children are very spontaneously responding to things. This is one thing you must understand, that they don't need any kind of help. This girl, she is actually my child. I had adopted her from the time she was born. And what she has in the hand is arecanut, sheath. You know that, na? So when you cut like this, it curls and forms like a binoculars. Have you seen it? But she has never seen a binocular. So she immediately took it and looked it through that. You understand, na? So children have a way of knowing what exactly needs to be done. You see that now there is a pillar, square pillar there. Children's behavior around this is very different from when it is circular. Am I right? Cylindrical. Am I right? And every child behaves in a certain way. Are you getting my point? That exactly like what you did with the book, which is a very spontaneous response. Everywhere there is a spontaneous response of the child to understand the world. You get this, no? So what I am trying to say is that there is an inherent grammar embedded to understand the world. Getting my point? So all this terminologies like abstraction, conceptualization, all this like digestion is an internal process. You cannot directly deal with conceptual knowledge. You cannot deal with abstraction directly. Abstraction is a process that you go through because it starts with concrete experience. It is from, for example, you engage with mango, but you did not engage with fruit in the first place. You started with mango, banana, grapes, and then maybe karela, kaddu, like that, no? And then you saw there is a clear distinction between these two categories. So it is not in language that you create these categories, it is in senses, experience that you begin to create categories. So just sharing that, all this is innovation, this is what a child is all about, Continuously making use of situations, like somebody had given her a truck. So as she was taking out, she told it is coming out of the garage. It could be just a box, no? But she immediately turned it into her garage. And toy, other very important thing with toys is that, you see, there is developmental stages in all the activities that we do. Understand? There is a developmental stage, because in walking, you see, there is a development stage, You crawl, and then you walk on your knees and then slowly begin to walk. Am I right? There is a toy also has developmental stages. If you can recollect your own childhood, did you have many toys? No, you had? Oh my God. How many people did not have toys? Too many toys? Oh, all of you had toys from childhood? That's strange. So, you see, whatever the child experienced is what will become the child's play. That's rule number one. So, a child looking after, when they play mother, all of you played mother, no? That this becomes a child, you are playing the mother. This happens just after you have gone through that experience. Understand? So when you graduate into school, you no longer play mother, you play teacher. You getting my point? But when somebody gives you a Barbie doll, then you, till 14 years you play with it. You don't grow up. Play is nothing but reenacting, what you experience and learning that. That is what learning is all about. And also, you see, this I'm sure you must have all seen, no? Using the palm. So the very notion of toy is really problematic. But this needs observation. All the toys that children make comes out of observation of the real world. Understand? Whereas the moment you start giving them toy, they don't have to observe the world. That they are playing with it. They have something to play with. I'm sure many of this you must have done, with plants and all that is around, playing with that. Any object is a toy, like that is this bus. And they don't have any hierarchy. Chappal can't become a toy. So imagination is, something that is hyped up unnecessarily. And actually people don't understand what is imagination. Today the problem is that most youngsters are brought up in imaginary stories, fantasies. Because they are exposed to Cartoon Network and all that, So their whole idea of the world is cartoonish. You ask them to draw, they will bring a cartoon, that's the characters that they have, or this Spider-Man type, So there is no observation of the world. We are no longer connecting with the world. So for them, that was their child. You can see the age, no? It is at this age that they play mother. Two combs put together, that is this aeroplane. This is father and mother. They are sleeping now. Spoon became a selfie. Laptop. Do you understand? So every activity a child does is to imitate something. And how does they behave? Understand, huh? So children are actually on process orientation. We are product oriented, meaning we are dealing with knowledge. They are in the process of knowing all the time. They are discovering, learning, knowing. They are in a verb format all the time. We are in noun format. Knowledge, which we analyze, which is a product. So, you see, the idea is that can we in the school do some changes so that we reduce the damage that we do to children. That's the whole thing that we are trying to explore. So once we understand certain fundamental principles, can we make small changes so that the damage is less? That's the whole idea. So I'll show you something called natural pedagogy. That this is what happens in a village. I call it teaching without teaching. That grandfather is not wanting to teach, he is not trying to teach, he is doing what he has to do. It's a child's responsibility, if they feel like, to learn. So she is observing. This is the natural way. So I will show you also now what children learn. I was explaining how children learn. Tools and how children learn. I'll explain to you what children learn. So children learn. So this is the first thing. I'm sure all of you must have gone through this, no? Your child must have fed you back. So that's what the first thing the child does. The first lesson of a child is to become a parent. But that is what the child experiences. You understand? And the whole crisis in modern parenting probably is because most children have not experienced the way they should experience from the parent. Could be. Because of course in the Western countries the child is taken away, right from the child is born, it is given another room, another bed, completely understand. So naturally they don't get, because see, these learnings are not mechanical. This is designed by life. This is not a human design. We are so arrogant, we think we are in control. The whole system is functioning based on a completely different rules, not human rules, life's rules. So this is the first thing a child learns. So what do they learn in school? Understand? They come back and play teacher games and they behave like teachers. Correct? And you see this earlier one, if there was nobody to teach, so she used those dots in the house, that design. Those tiles that you see, those are the children now. Understand? So what actually children learn is form. I told you how something looks like something else, this is a form, right? You must have done some things like this also. So next time when you get into the classroom, let children do these kind of things. So we ran a school for 3 years in Pune, and we completely changed the rules of the game. We called it reimagining schools, by 100% respecting what is the nature of learning, what is the nature of child. No interference at all. So they completely recreating a market. This is what every child used to do earlier, They are all the time busy making things, doing things, So this is a market they recreated. And you can see that the objects have connection with the real things in the market. Yeah? That dry leaf, for example, what is that? Huh? Loudly. Dry leaf that is hanging. Any idea what that is? What could be that? Just take a guess, no? No, that thing that is hanging, dry leaf that is hanging there, no? You are not getting which one I am telling? This one. Yeah. Something is hanging there. Dry fish. Yeah. So, they see a very clear connection between these two. So, the potatoes will look like potatoes, egg, somehow they will try to manage, And what is interesting is that, do you know what this is? This became a vegetable, brinjal. So, look at the flexibility. It is not form, it is color. Understand? You must have played this, no? You have made, no? Brinjal with this? This is very common actually. Right? And then of course, hibiscus for chili, chili. Yeah. So that is one. No, other thing that I want to ask you is that, again, when you were children, do you remember putting bed sheet like this and playing house? You turned the bed, the table into a house and you played. So here you are exploring function. Form, function, process, materials, structure. These are the 5 aspects, 5 things that the child continuously explored. You understand? So when they are exploring function, they don't pay too much attention to form or to other process. Simply, fast they just do it and they play house. And the other time they are busy making, of course, all these things, father, mother or whatever, uncle, and all those things can happen. Kitchen, of course, is a fantastic activity they continuously do, making food and all that. And process is process of doing things. Here the attention, I'm sure this also you must have done, using bedsheet, table, chair, pillow. You made a house? Correct, no? Some of you. So there the focus is on making, not on playing, not on using the space, but on making it. And actually in that process you understand how each and every material behave. For example, something like this, when you are putting bedsheet over a table, there you are not worried about how to hold it, because it's held. But when you are making a house, then your preoccupation is how each material behaves. It could be hardboard, something or the other what is available in the house, you come and then the whole process is making the house. Understand, huh? Structure, of course, is the final outcome. They make something that is stable structurally. That is the Property of materials, as I told you, child sitting on a sofa will bounce. A child seeing very smooth place will slide. Understand? All children do that. So this is in the railway stations, new chairs, very smooth. We find it difficult to sit, but children really enjoy sitting on that because immediately it starts sliding. Spontaneously exploring senses, no? So actually you don't need Montessori method at all. In fact, it is against the nature of the child when you use methods. The very act of teaching is against the nature of the child, where the child is a born learner. So these are the things that that a child explores. So here, the whole thing is explored at one go. The structure is ready. He is using it as a house now. So the principle of learning is that they experience the whole and explore the parts. Because form, function, process, material, all these are parts. But they are experiencing the whole. The house itself has been explored and various aspects of the house they are exploring. Form, function, structure, materials, all that. So let me just show you an interesting video. Understand? Is the child creating knowledge? So implicitly knowing is happening. He is understanding some mathematical rules, some physics. Am I right? It's all happening, no? It's like grammar. Without knowing grammar, you are able to speak. But internally you knew, meaning implicitly you knew grammar. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to speak. So every action, every experience the child has, there's an implicit knowledge creation that happens. Something that makes them understand this is the way world behaves. This is the way I have to do things. No? So that's happening together. So we won't go into these theories. Let me show you some something about language basically. So we will look at how children learn language, because that is something that they are learning spontaneously. You are not teaching, but the child is learning. Correct, no? So we will look at how could this happen. What is the process, right? So the difference between teaching and learning is that in learning environment, adults are providing the word, not consciously, but they are speaking to each other. The child is hearing those words, but the child hears it as sound. And then from the context, the child is able to understand that this sound means this object. Understand? Nah? Somebody is telling, keep the bottle near on the table. And the child saw somebody is coming and keeping something on the table. Understand? What the child heard is series of sounds, but the child saw an action along with that sound, that somebody is keeping a bottle here. And next time also somebody is telling, no, bring the bottle here. Again the child is hearing bottle different times. Understand? Huh? So that is how the child is able to connect. Oh, this means bottle. Understand? So we will look at a few interesting ways in which children do this. So one day a child was with one friend and he saw a peacock flying. So the child told kaka. Kaka means crow. Understand? And the peacock got down and started walking, and the child told kutta. Understand? So in the first initial stage, all flying ones were kaka, crow, and all walking ones are kutta. Understand? What this means is that for a child, every object, for example, all the animals that they see walking are kutta, because kutta is the one that the child saw first, and kutta is what is familiar to the child. Understand? Huh? So all the walking ones became kutta for her, and crow is the most common bird, no? Understand? So all the flying ones became crow. Understand? Huh? So there is a very clear organizational principle behind the way children organize this information. And slowly as they grow older, that gets organized, more clearly. For example, look at this, how adjectives get formed. So cats are Mimi, dogs are Cuckoo. And when she saw the tiger became Bada Mimi, big cat. Simple. Understand? So immediately similarity in form was recognized. And dog was a little problematic because, lion. Because the lion's body was looking like dog, but the face was looking like cat. So there was some confusion. So each and every aspect is looked at, because they are always listening, they are paying attention. So the sound, color, the size of the beak, all that is being observed, and then slowly that child begins to categorize that. So this categorization is the first step in understanding the world. You group certain things together. So in the natural process, the child is integrating the word and the world. But what school does is that The world is absent. You're only dealing with the word. Understand? So the child doesn't know what you're talking about. And what school does is to cut experience from them, isolate them from the world. So every activity is a cognitive activity. Cognitive activity means wanting to understand the world. That's what I mean. No? So recreating experience is is the what they do to understand the world. And then, so I want to share one more thing with you on drawing. Is there time? Yeah, there is. Okay. So the drawing is also a cognitive activity if you don't interfere. And drawing is an activity that children do to understand the three-dimensional world in terms of two-dimensional space. This we came to know after studying what children draw spontaneously. So the school that I ran for 3 years, children were doing all kinds of things on their own. So we collected all the drawings and put them together, and we found there is a clear logic to every drawing that they were doing. And that is when we realized that this is a process of understanding the 3D in terms of 2D. And also you will see clearly there is developmental stages. See, wherever there is developmental stages, it has to do with your own growth. It has both. It could be physical, it could be cognitive. So like scribbling, blabbering, crawling, they all fall into same category. And then other very important thing about drawing is that if you don't interfere, children draw what they observe. It's only when you begin to interfere and tell you do this, do that, then their system changes. Otherwise, it is about observation that they draw. What they observe, they draw. And there is very clear stages in drawing, meaning how they draw from 2D to 3D. Understand? So initial drawing of a child in making a vehicle is like this. All the 4 wheels are seen and one line drawing. It's a plain this thing, and then of course there is here of course they are showing the wheels, but the body is still 2D. Now all the 4 wheels are shown. So slowly that become a 3-dimensional work. Understand? So as they observe more and more, then they reach 3-dimensionality. Here. And of course it has to do with something. So one day this child was actually watering. So that became her own subject to draw. And various activities that happen in that in their vicinity, like this is that what is that? Matka होता है ना? Ganesh? Yeah. Imagination. So this friend was who was working with us was pregnant. So you can see her inside the womb. So immediately they also got the idea, maybe cats also has that, because cats are there and cats are always giving birth. So that became their other subject of drawing. Then the same kind of commonality you see between form, function, process all that being explored in drawing. Because this is a study of process, how the wiper is moving. So drawing is also like toy and play, is a cognitive activity which children do to understand the world. Shall we open it up for yeah, art of course is another pointless activity that we do, but since we are young students, young children, we won't go into these things, art and all that. Art is basically a sense of beauty. Art is again a misconstruct, See, actually, what is to be whole is that there are three aspects of being whole as a being. That we are responding to three questions: why, what, how. These three questions are inherent in every activity that we are doing. At one level, that is the wholeness. So, what is the cognitive aspect? Why is the value aspect? Meaning, why are you doing certain things? Is it sustaining life? But basically, that's a question about knowledge. And the third is how you do it. And how you do it is primarily related to achieving certain kind of aptness in action. Meaning, reducing the amount of energy that is spent in activity. So there is a fine tuning of every activity in nature. There is a perfection, So a little complex. I think we will, I will have to. Let me show you one fantastic video. Now, so look at the child in front. Now, what she does. That girl who is sitting down and. Now she will push that boy off and then, see what she is doing. Understand? So there is an innate urge for order. This is beauty. So by doing silly art, this is not going to happen. This is an innate biological response to life. That is why the way you organize your kitchen, the way you organize all your activities. Do you know why people don't feel so much tired in the rural areas? They are always rhythmic. There is a rhythm inbuilt in every activity that you do. There are two reasons. One, they are not egoistic. If you are too much egoistic, they are putting a lot of effort. If you are not egoistic, things are happening, you are part of the flow. You are not the doer. You see, there is a fantastic difference between oral languages, indigenous languages and modern language. In indigenous languages, we are part of the doing. Understand? Mera haath jal gaya. You turn that into English. I burnt my finger. I burnt my finger. So I am the doer all the time in modern language, this so-called modern language. But all indigenous languages has, I am part of the process. I am not the doer. I am part of the process. So naturally the ego is less in this, So ego building is a very interesting thing to look at. How we, build ego in children by various ways, of course, This is one of that. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you. There are many such examples. Okay, this I want to show you. So this was a fantastic experiment I did with children in 2003. I gave them, I asked them to do certain activities and with using found things, dry leaves and things like that. So this is the things that they did. no help at all. First time they are doing this, they had no idea what is art. Understand, na? So you can see the fantastic composition that is taking place. The beauty that is, these are small children, huh? I can challenge you, in not one school you will find such activities, because you teach them what to do. That's why. You find it original and beautiful because it is happening through them. And they are very innocent about this. They don't feel it, they have done something great. Unlike how we train our children to feel they are, silly things that they do and they feel they are great. So this is the basic problem. They are born geniuses. Their capacity is something unbelievable. But we reduce it like anything because we are working on their ego. We are not working on the life that exists in them. So this rhythm, I want to show you this. Yeah. You see, in every action there is rhythm. In every activity there is certain beauty. Of course, we are innocent about it, but it exists. And you go into rural travel areas, and this is not for sales, na? They just want to do things beautifully. It's simple. So what I'm telling is that there's an innate need in us to organize, to make things beautiful. And it doesn't require an extra effort. That's what I'm trying to say. All this applique and all that has come out of villages, every activity for that matter. So the moment you introduce art, you are creating egoistic people. That's what you do. In fact, the very idea of self-expression is as late as 19th century. It's an invention of modern minds, this idea of self-expression. There were selfless expressions. Things were happening through them. Today we insist we are the doers. So, it completely reduces the quality of and the purpose of these things, Yeah. Okay, we can. Correct time. Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions. We question ourselves what we are doing. Any fundamental questions if you feel like asking?
Sir, when you said when children observe or when they come into contact with something, it invokes their sense, right? How does Akashani come into play with that? I mean, are we experiencing that?
No.
That?
I have no idea about those records. But what is visible is very clear. That you see, there are Modernity has completely misunderstood children. This is the basic thing that I'm here. It's there. It's here. It is here now. No, modernity has completely misunderstood the true, beingness of a child. There is absolutely no doubt. It has devalued senses. We have only senses to understand the world, and of course, senses mean. Again, people who have not ever used senses won't understand what I am talking about, because sensory experience is also extrasensory. Because beauty is something that is not clear, immediately visible. Because everybody is seeing, but are you seeing beauty? Because that is beyond mere seeing. You understand? So there is a deeper thing that people have hardly used their senses, so they won't understand senses at all. That's number one. Second major mistake that modernity is doing is that we assume we are individualistic, individuals, and we are stressing that so much that we are not understanding there is a collective beingness inherent in us. And they are telling that it is only the birds, and they have this term called what's it called? Especially with regards to birds, they say that they function as one mind, because when they are flying together, understand, many of them are flying together, so it is considered that they are functioning with one mind. But my belief is that even ours is like that, even human being is like that. All collective beings, community beings do have a possibility of the mind coming together. When children work together, they function as one mind. When indigenous people work together, they function as one mind. You don't have to keep instructing each other, you do this, you do this, you do this. Somehow everybody knows what each one should do and things get done. I have seen how potters pack their pottery. 6-7 of them will work together, loading onto the lorry. And you hardly see anybody instructing. There is no leader. So I have seen this very interesting thing happening in the school that I was running. One person was from USA. So after seeing few videos, she started asking, who is the leader? You see? So I'm telling this because the question you ask will give you answer related to that. When you ask a question, who is the leader, you will look for the leader. You understand? But I was very clear that this question is not the right question. So I was not trapped in the question, but I observed and I found that there is nobody leading, yet there is some kind of coordination happening between each of them. That can only happen if there is something that is happening invisible to us, In a mechanical mind won't understand this, So children are functioning together without an ego. I'll tell you one more interesting thing that happened. So when we started the school, a child started drawing in one page. Just one page she started drawing. Another child came in, she started drawing in the same page, same drawing. Another. So 4 of them were drawing in one page. Understand? Nobody asked permission. That didn't enter to them that you have to ask permission. I mean, it is so, this idea would be so difficult for a Western mind. You have to ask permission for everything, no? And the child never felt that she should deny. Both didn't happen. And the interesting part was that after some time, the one who started the drawing, she left. And the others continued. So I found that responsibility has a completely different definition here. While they were at it, they were all responsible. When she felt it is done, she's gone. She doesn't want her name to be written and hung. So what I'm trying to say is that there are very, very important lessons on spirituality, on playfulness, on mere living, happiness, all we can learn from children, provided we create a space for that. You see, when a child came to my life, I took 3 decisions. Never say no to her, always follow her, never lie to her. So I was able to see then what is the child all about. Our problem is that we already know what to do with the child. When to feed, how much to feed, no? And how to cheat the child to make her eat more, all that we know. So we will never understand the child. And the other problem is that we have fragmented children's lives into play, learning, working, things like that, art. So then you give activities in such way, no? So when a child is doing something with this, that means she's playing, she's not learning. So you have a frame to look at the child, which is a fragmented frame. This is the problem of modern man. He has created fragments, different categories to see through. So he is completely missing the child. Yeah.
I don't have it. You can see 2 children here. They are actually eating and sleeping.
Yeah.
Just now, the other child made to ensure that the child eats and she had so we can observe the example right here.
Absolutely. That's what I tell teachers, that I was telling her that at least once in a week, one day in a week, you don't do anything. Let children do what they feel like and you observe what they do. Other very important thing that I was suggesting her is that you remove all the plastic and all the toys that are here, but bring cartons, old used whatever things that you have, bottles, cartons or anything that you don't need, even old sari or old anything that but adultery, not for children. Yeah, and don't miniaturize anything for them. So bring what you do, what you have at home, which you don't use, bring it here and see what they will do with that. You will really see magic happening. And I can assure you one thing, you will really enjoy coming here. Because you will see a completely different life here. That's a guarantee. But by second, third year, it is people from small villages that begins to dominate. Because Delhi, Bombay people know how to speak. But people from small towns have experience of doing things. And design is actually about experience. Unlike other subjects, design is a subject that really needs creativity, intelligence. Most other subjects you need only memory and some logical mind, not creativity. Understand, huh? So definitely these children would do very, very well if you allow them to really make things, do things on their own. Then you are actually working, respecting their cognitive autonomy and their intelligence will develop naturally. Acha, now I want to ask you 1, 2, 3 simple questions if you can remember what you learned in school. What is the color of sky? First. Huh? What is the color of sky? No doubt. Okay, blue. What is the color of leaf? Green. No? Huh? Okay. So this is what actually education does to you. It doesn't allow you to see anything. So the same question was asked to children. What is the color of sky? They asked back, what time of the day am I referring to? That should be the common sense question that you should be asking, no? And a schooled person will not ask this. They will have an answer. So common sense to ask what time of the day are you referring to? Or they will at least look out of the window and tell. Yeah.
But there is a role of books in learning.
Oh, there is. A role of books can come much later. See, now what I am thinking is that I feel that up to 6 years is a time for absorption. They are rooting, they are putting roots to the world. Senses are getting connected. And the next phase, I feel, is the phase of implicit knowledge creation. Implicit. You are doing things, you are understanding, you are doing more understanding is taking place, not in the mind, but your body is understanding, it is doing things. And from the age of 12 or 13, 14, we can work on what I call as how to enable metacognitive awareness, meaning being aware of what you already know. Because grammar can be the most interesting subject provided if we are able to become aware of how we are speaking or how someone else is speaking. So we are listening to someone, but at the same time we are also becoming aware how you are speaking. Understand? Huh? The moment I begin to pay attention to how you are using language, I will be able to decode the grammar. Clear, no? And I think any learner, this is the quality of a learner. True learner is a metacognitive observer. That is the definition of a true learner. I mean, but this learning is not necessary. Let me tell you this. See, if we know how to speak very well, that is more than enough. We don't have to know grammar. Grammar is totally unimportant. For the conduct of life, we don't need to have metacognitive awareness at all. But now, because human beings are trapped in knowledge, they have to truly understand what is knowledge to discard it. Otherwise, we are producing human knowings now. There is no being. Everybody seems to have read many things, but they don't know what actually it is. So, the crisis is that every educated thinks he is highly educated because they have read many books. So I think it is important that an authenticity has to be established, as an autonomy has to be established, and the role of knowledge and all that needs to be. Probably, I think this is a time for us to become metacognitively aware. Probably, I don't know.
The children love stories. Stories.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they also relate themselves into the characters of the stories.
Yeah.
It's not a real world.
Yeah.
However, they can relate themselves to
Yeah.
themselves also.
Yeah.
I mean, are we not?
Yeah. No, see, that actually, he is telling that children like to hear stories, that fantasy kind of stories also. That's what I'm saying. To me, that is not the quality of that particular fantasy. It is the quality of the child to enjoy wherever he is. That is not the quality inherent in the story. Child is enjoying everything. But what is happening is that, we see, for example, they are so much preoccupied with dinosaurs and all that, because you give them that. But are they preoccupied with the ants that they see every day? I mean, they don't even see ants. They don't see any animal or any bird, any insect, anything that is around it. But we feed them with some silly ideas about dinosaurs. So they are all trapped in that. They don't exist in the world. They are taken away. So to me, just allow them to observe ants or anything. Like for example, in that school, I think monkeys will be a fantastic topic for children. if they are allowed to, just free them from that day. You remember how the child was observing something. That is their nature, to observe what is happening around. So if that is happening, then they don't need extra. See, it is their ability to enjoy whatever So they may say that, you may claim that, no, I play with children, they like me playing. That is your misconception. They like everything. Like you give them sweets, or you feed them with ice cream every day, they will enjoy it, na? But is it good for them? Just because they enjoy, that doesn't qualify for, So we have to actually understand what is the inherent need of a child. Inherent need is not individualistic need, it's a life's need. And that can be understood if we are in an environment which is not conditioning them all the time. As I told you, no toys, kitchen is on the ground, and you don't say this is mine and that is yours. So you remove these kind of, confusion from the child, then the child will behave very differently. I used to tell some, I don't say stories, simple events. You see, what I've found in rural areas is that almost all activities ensure you to be present all the time. For example, if you take stitching, you take any of the traditional motifs in any weaving community, it will be related to something in their context. So when they see a bird, they will remember the motif on the cloth, and when they see the cloth, the motif on the cloth, they will remember the bird. So there is a constant situation, condition for being present all the time. See, the educated are always absent. Physically present, mentally absent. They are completely. But that is not the case with children and rural tribal people. But they are in the world. They are the world in that sense. Whereas we are alienated. So to me, education is not merely about knowledge. It is, I think, a huge crisis of our own destruction of the earth. And it is precisely because of education. Because we don't allow us to get rooted as a biological being. We are linguistic beings now, psychological beings, mental beings, not physical beings. Of course, physical being means mind is already present in that.
I have a question. So in the rural communities, the kids' intelligence is because of lesser technology and because of less exposure to the virtual world, and because they are living in the real world.
Absolutely. You see, the thing is that, as I was telling you, the way the brain gets developed is based on what you experience. So when you engage more and more with text, your brain will become two-dimensional. Understand? And you become linear, and then there are many things what text does to you. Rationality comes from text. But with digital, it is far more dangerous. Because digital, first of all, especially the mobile, it's in your hand. You are changing the scale both in terms of size and time. Understand? It completely creates a different system in the brain, and it doesn't awaken other senses. Understand? The world awakens all the senses. in a one-to-one scale, you know, a world and the we are in a same relationship. So, in the context, so that is one very important thing. Second thing is that there is a total respect for cognitive autonomy. They are not into teaching. That is the most important thing. A potter's child is not taught how to do pottery. A weaver's child is not taught. A farmer's child is not taught. But by 13, 14 years, they learn. And also, you know, there is one very interesting cognitive science understanding that when you see something clearly, you have already learned how to do it. Understand, huh? And children are 12 years, they are observing their parents doing all kinds of activities. You know, so you absorb, you don't have to actually do also. Just being present, observing all the time, immediately you are able to do it. Because some learning is already taking place in that sense, you know. So that is the thing. And see, the difference is that I say that rural tribal communities are in learning environment. Here we are in teaching environment. In teaching environment, knowledge is a product. In learning environment, knowing is a process. And your whole body is learning. In fact, the body is knowing more mathematics and physics than your mind. Because when it holds, it knows how much is it. You know. So I think when we are conceptualizing knowledge in that sense, we need to probably understand how the body makes sense of things. You know. Yeah. So this needs a different kind of research actually. I want to tell you one very interesting research. This was in USA, probably again in the 1920s. He is actually a mathematics teacher. Mathematics. So till 7th standard, he did not use numerals at all. No teaching of mathematics. Instead he taught English. But in English, he began to talk about quantities and things like that, you know, measurements, all that, but without making it into a mechanical thing. He spoke about, you know, things in a very casual way, but all the time talking about height and weight and things like that, you know. So up to 7th, there was no teaching at all of numerals. But when he reached 7th, that whole first 7 years was taught in 1 year. Understand that? So basically what is happening is that we are teaching children before they experience things. Or you are not connecting the experience, and that's, you know, either this or we are always like, for example, I think it is extremely harmful activity we are doing today is sex education. People are not understanding the damage that sex education is doing to children. They really have no idea what you are talking about. You have actually, the mind is, all kind of confusions are created in the mind because of sex education. So there is a time when the body understands. That is a time. Otherwise, of course, they will create some stories around it. But that is the nature of the mind. You know, it will build all kinds of stories.
If the child asks some questions regarding how they become or whatever that is,
Yeah.
you need to answer them in good right?
I don't know about that. Yeah, maybe. But I think the way sex education is happening now.
Not sex education.
Yeah.
What you are saying.
Yeah. You know, see, the problem is that you see what is happening in a rural tribal area where life is at full go. You know, you see, you know, dogs giving birth, cats giving birth, you see hens giving birth, you know. So all around you see life procreating, plants. So there is a continuous life procreation that is happening all around the child. Here we don't see anything. Understand? So in that fullness of life, these learnings are always happening. Something or other is happening, something about life, no? So I think this cordoning of us from life is another major problem, that we are not connecting with the processes that are inherent in life. No plant, we never see a plant growing, you know. So I think these are all very, very important, I think. In a context of life, you have to have life around you, because see, we are really helpless. We have to learn life from life. So life has to be around us. I think so. I may be wrong.
Sir, do you think that the people who are not coming to school, so-called poverty, poverty children,
Yeah.
do you think that they are okay with their lives?
You see, you must understand, modern poverty is a constructed poverty. When I was, in 91, when I was living in that village in Orissa, that particular community was almost self-sustaining. There was farmer, there was weaver, there was potter, there was shepherd, bamboo artisan, there used to be a kanchari, meaning blacksmith. It was a self-sustaining community. Potters, mud, clay was coming from the pond nearby. It was reserved for them. They didn't have to pay at all. Do you understand? They were leading full lives. So we went and started, we meaning the educated. I don't blame the educated, it is the West that first created problem in the educated. See, the educated are behaving exactly like the colonizers, the West. That's what we are doing. Understand? How the West came and told you that you are idiots, and we began to believe it. This is what we are doing to our rural tribal people also. So the very notion of poverty is a political term. You see, you must read this fantastic book by Helena Norberg called Ancient Futures. She is a linguist anthropologist who came to Ladakh many years ago, and she has written a book called Ancient Futures. She very clearly says that earlier times when she came and she asked these people, are you poor? They never understood what is poverty. That term didn't exist. Understand? 10 years later, or I don't know how many number of years, she came back and they started telling they are poor. So poverty is an imported word. It's a political word. And then we systematically create poverty, both in terms of knowledge and in terms of needs. I think all village communities were self-sustaining, and they all had knowledge. This is a fact. You don't believe? I mean, just imagine 10, 20 years ago, your own life here. All farmers knew how to farm. Did they ever feel they were poor? Not one farmer felt they were poor. So poverty was very clear. See, the term illiterate, it's a very hierarchical term. See, the thing with modernity is that they continuously create hierarchy. They claim they are literates, so naturally somebody will become illiterate. You are educated, so others are uneducated. You are developed, others are undeveloped. You see, it's a very clear, political terms. There is nothing to do with reality. It was never, but it got created. So you are constantly, under the rule of someone else, because you accepted those terminologies. That's why I purposely say literates learn the word, illiterates learn the world. It completely changes the story. And of course they get very disturbed, literates, especially who feel they are literates, People who are open will understand, wow, what have we lost?
Jinan, what is the solution of all this? There are problems. Every time, whenever I feel very troubled.
No, my intention is to trouble you. You see, the thing is that
I found myself trapped in all this situation and I don't know how to get out of it.
no, you see, we have only collective solutions, and solutions cannot come top down. The whole problem of modernity is that it is top down, and it is always depending on someone else. Our dependence must completely stop. It has to be everybody's responsibility to reclaim your biological beingness, your connection with the world, and then slowly work on it. There is no other solution. All solutions are coming from the West, from the modern world. Idea of solutions. We have to stop looking for solutions externally. Change our system, change the way we see things. You see, there is this term called critical thinking. It's a bullshit word. Because you cannot be critical unless you know by yourself what are you talking about. Today what we have is that we have 10 different books telling 10 different things. So you read all the 10 and then you decide, then you become critical. Isn't that absurd? All the 10 books are written by somebody else. You can only be critical provided you authentically know. And that you can only do by directly engaging with things. By no bias. You have to work on these things. So that's the thing, So
the solution is whatever is possible in your hand, you just keep doing it.
Yes.
Because currently, if you go by what you have mentioned, I also agree all schools are doing. They are not doing justice to what the children should have. Hardly maybe 1% of the population of India, children especially are growing up in a conducive environment which you are referring to. In a city like Vijayawada, Guntur or in Mangalagiri, I hardly found many children which are getting what they should. So that's a very sad scenario.
Yeah, but I want to tell one thing that we should not blame ourselves. Nor anybody else for that matter. No blaming. Because I think all are trapped. Even one who feels superior are trapped. So, because that is a peculiar kind of condition that makes them feel they are superior. So, we have to actually, start working with our children. That is the future. Learn from them, undo the damages that we have done to ourselves, and slowly, create small centers of experiments. Whatever little one can do. We don't have to claim that we are doing something great. Simple things. One small action you change, like that. That's the.
One common doubt which most of the parents are having these days is the selection of the school for the children. Because after home, school is the second place where the children explore along with their peers. So what do you suggest? How do we determine which is a good school, which is not a good school? Do we have any criteria to suggest upon?
See, good school is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
It's like a good teacher. These are oxymorons. So you have to see which is least damaging schools. I would put it like that. So you figure out, you work with, if you are interested, you have to, you see, the thing is that parents also don't allow any experiments to take place in a school. So parents also must understand this, come together, work towards creating a, more conducive environment for children. You see, many alternative schools starts with very good vision. But then slowly parents come in, they dictate, and then the school changes. Most schools are like that. So it's actually, in one way, parents are responsible for destroying schools in that sense. Many schools started with fantastic, aims, but they couldn't continue because, So this is, I think, has to be worked together. Parents. During the COVID, we did very interesting work with one school, and we were able to change many parents their attitude to children. And I can tell you one important thing. That is, it is much easier to work with people who are not too much educated. English educated people are more dangerous. Seriously. Because they have read all kinds of nonsense, Montessori, all theories they know. It's good that people don't know any theory. They can directly observe children and learn from children. So we are actually running different groups, English speaking mothers and Marathi speaking mothers. Marathi speaking mothers, we have fantastic time. Because they are not caught up too much about, all kinds of rules and theories. Immediately we were able to make them see the beauty of when you leave children free, what happens, We have fantastic documentation. They would do some interesting thing, they will document and send it, So we have a huge collection of mothers sharing their experience with children,
Lot of innocence.
Absolutely.
Boy becomes bigger.
Yeah.
Very complex.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank Professor Jinan for giving us a wonderful light to everyone to think on these things, very important things. Because we are all a part of education, not just the parents and the teachers. All society has to work on this. So the last statements of Jinan.K.B gave us a hope that even the small interventions, whatever we do in our homes and schools, will surely help somewhere, and in that way we can sow the good seeds. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I thank all the teachers and Dr. K.B Shivam and all, because their presence always gives a lot of strength. Thank you so much. Thank you.